Doing? How y'all doing? No, I haven't been on here in a minute. Trying to finish the books. I really want to know. I haven't read it since I've been reading it with y'all, and I really want to see how it turned out. Stopped on chapter 9. I know I really want to jam too, but I gotta get my other phone done. So, hope y'all been great. We'll jump right off into it. So I want to go to my other channel. I changed it to Empress, to Goddess. All right, we stopped in we did chapter 9. Now we'll go ahead to 10. Petty secrets. Okay. Now I'm outside, y'all. Dang. Forgot about all that noise. Anyway, let's go. That Ramos had arrived so quickly meant he was living in the salon now too, and that he was likely looking for me. Perhaps he had even asked Sierra to keep an eye out, since she was a mutual acquaintance in a Twilight Guide and knew my face. Guild, how do you say that? My plan had been a stupid one. Sierra, to be fair, probably had no idea Ramai, the young boy she grew up with, my supposed stepbrother, was the last person I wanted to find me. Everyone was about their own business around us, blustering by too quickly to notice anything strange. His skin was hot against mine, his chest rising rapidly as if he'd run to get here. I would scream if I had to, but I knew how quickly he could cover my mouth and held me away. I had to stall him, but already he began pulling me toward the alley alongside the wine shop, likely where a horse was waiting. Let me go, I rasped, trying to jerk my hand away, my slippers skipping over the rough cobblers. Hold on, y'all. Slip. He held tight, his tug insistent. No, you're coming with me. Is that so? Said a hard voice nearby. Nakia made it back. A dagger in her hand. Thought I would fall for that, did you? That a small coin purse would be dropping my guard? She obviously only circled around the fish market and came up behind us. The dagger now threatening those black eyes I knew so well. Now how about you tell me what you want with her, and this will be less painful. Ramsey let me go, and at that moment muttered to me, get back. He didn't need to tell me twice, and I stumbled away. Before I could figure out why he was warning me, he was moving lightning fast, ducking the kill's darting blade, and drawing his sword in the same fluid motion, one that might have gutted me had I been closer. In a scarf of boots on stone, Nakia's dagger was now in her left hand, her own sword out in her right hand, only half a second after his. They stood facing each other, blades perfectly still and glinting in the sunlight, while people jumped back with cries of alarm. A woman, huh? Ramsey said. A dead man, huh? Besides, you're the one wearing the scarf. Nakia's grin didn't reach her eyes. Don't want anyone to see your face. And then she lunged. Ramsey danced back, praying, but barely in time. His eyes widened in surprise at her skill, but immediately narrowed in focus as she got past his guard and almost shriveled him a second time. I seen Ramsey train at the villa. He had a private tutor, a sword master, giving him lessons every other day. But Nakia trained twice as often. And if Ramsey was stronger, she was better. The fight was as furious as the burning sun, their blades gleaming and licking at each other. Ramsey kept trying to circle my way, but Nakia kept beating him back with her sword, her dagger napping at him. So he circled the other way until he reached one of the tree vendor's fish grills kicked it over, and flickered burning coals at Nakia with the sweep of his sword. She couldn't help flinching, and Ramses lunged. Nakia bolted fast enough to dodge his blow, but still I screeched, "Don't!" Ramsey paused at the frantic sound of my voice, long enough to nearly lose his head, but he threw himself into his back, rolling his feet a moment later. I don't know why when I read it, start hurting my throat. Hey, I thought that was you over there. Oh. I got a shout rose from the nearby street. Hey, back already? Did everything?
Nope.
Oh. A shout rose from the nearby street. Soldiers were coming. Nakia didn't turn to look or take her eyes off her target. Ramsey, however, turned away from the commotion. He ran with only one backward glance at me. His eyes were like coals themselves, burning right through me. Nakia didn't chase him. She left that to the soldiers, after she hurriedly explained and pointed them in the right direction. Then she dragged me against the wall of the wine shop into the shade and relative safely, her back to me, sword still raised in my defense. "Who," she said, panting her over her shoulder, "was that?" "I don't know," I whispered. Oh, she lied. In a way, I truly didn't. What had he wanted with me? Why had he directed me out of harm's way after he tried to abduct me? And he listened to me when I told him to stop. It didn't mean I wanted to kill him any less. I would just have more questions for him beforehand. Despite my efforts, I still only ever had questions and never in the answers. I sagged against the wall. The experience felt like old wounds being damn. Okay. I sagged against the wall. The experience felt like old wounds being reopened, but none of that compared to the shame of putting the kid in so much danger. I felt guilty as I stared at her strong, heavily shoulders. She could have been killed defending me in a situation I had arranged by lying to her. "And why?" she said, sounding angrily. "Didn't you break his grip? You know how to get out of a hole like that. I taught you." Heat rose to my cheeks because she was right. On top of everything, not only had she drilled me on self-defense, my mother had taught me basics before her. I should have brought up more of a fight, but I've been so surprised to see Ramsey that I've frozen. Oh, oh gods, Nakia, I'm so sorry, I gasped, holding my stomach, tears stringing my eyes. I felt like vomiting. "It's okay," she said, softer now. She was still on her guard, not facing me. "None of this is your fault, but I know that you know how to play your hand better than that." I caught her reference to gods and kings, what had led her to start teaching me self-defense in the first place. So much for my marital mindset. "You can't hold me to your standards. You're really good." Somehow I managed to hear the compliment like an insult, and it made us both choke on a laugh, probably for nerves. "Seriously, you should be a royal bodyguard, not here with me." "Good thing I was here," she said, Not letting me off so easily. "It's not like you to hesitate. You're sure you don't recognize him from somewhere?" Even if it felt like shame was devouring me from the inside out, I still had to lie. or else she would never relax around me again. I would never be free enough to hunt for my answers, at least not in the waking world. No, I said, I only saw his eyes. He just said I looked like a rich girl. He must have wanted to kidnap me, ransom me, or worse. Nakia spat on stones beneath her feet and finally turned to me, sharpening her sword. A pity I can't kill the bastard, but at least you're safe. Do you want to fetch your wine before we go? No, I said quickly. The less contact with Sarah, the better. She would not want to know why I hadn't gone to Ramsey. I'm not in the mood for anyone anymore. Besides, purse. You didn't get my purse back, I added in an attempt to tease her. She arched an eyebrow at me but smiled. I'm glad I didn't. Let's get you home then. I caught her arm as she moved toward the street. Nakia didn't Nakia, please don't tell her dad about this. Her forehead creased. Why not? Because he'll never let me leave the house again. Nakia grimaced. I don't know if you should, she said. At least not like this. Not until you're trained with me more. But I come of age in a week, I cried. Even as an adult, am I supposed to be only to go to an apprenticeship or palace functions or a temple, only seeing the inside of a carriage in between? Nakia sighed, running a hand through her hair, making it even slicker. I don't know, Kamara, but you have to admit this was strange. I'm still not convinced he didn't know who you were, and he was particularly well trained, not your average cut purse. If I hadn't been suspicious of the whole situation, and I unspoke words were you were no help. This isn't safe. No, it wasn't, and the kid had been in the most danger, yet all she cared about was me. Tears threading my eyes again. I'm sorry, Nikhil. I promise not to leave the house without you. If I leave at all, to have as much protection as you think I need, and to train with you as much as you wish. But please, please don't tell my dad. If he grew suspicious that my past life was trying to catch up with me, he might lock me away forever. Even if all I had to look forward to was life indoors after my 18th birthday, at least the walls would be changed and better. Nikkia's overbearing protectiveness with her father. She stared at me for a long time. You promise, you swear to me that you'll let me guard you as necessary and you'll practice even more with me? I swear, I said, even as my stomach sank. You have my word. And she did. So much for a new course of action. But even I had to admit after seeing Ramsey that my plan hadn't been the wisest. What if he told the Twilight Guard he'd seen me? I still had a hard time believing they didn't know where I was. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Butter. Yeah, Butter, I remember you. I'm sorry I didn't look up. You probably left now. I'm sorry. Um, I still had a hard time believing they didn't know where I was, but now they definitely had a trail to follow, and the kill wasn't exactly inconspicuous. They would easily find out who employed her, or they would just follow us home now. Nikhil seemed to have the same thought, glancing at the rooftops and down alleys, eyes darting wearily, but we made it to the carriage without incident and without catching sight of anyone else's watching. But I couldn't shake the image of Ramsey's fierce, dark eyes from my mind for the next few days at least. they distracted me for another pair, one that didn't exist in the waking world. My birthday actually fell on the date I was scheduled to visit Wilhelm, and I wondered if he somehow planned it that way. Okay, that's the one in the sleeping world in the inside of her body. I didn't know if the thought made me apprehensive or secretly thrilled. In any case, I tried not to count down the hours. As the night of my 18th birthday approached, I wondered what Val had planned. I couldn't believe I'd known him for almost a month and a half, known of him at least. I doubted I would ever really know who or what he was, especially at the rate he was doling out information. The day I became a legal adult had a night that held a new moon. It was either fitting or ominous, a new beginning, but one shrouded in darkness and rain. My birthday vigorously marked the beginning of the wet season, and rain pondered the pale stone of the city outside, drenched everything in heavy gray shadow. I almost I almost expected to receive an appointment at an accounting firm as a present from her dad, or maybe a carriage ride to a temple of Hershima to test as a priestess. No matter how much her or my tutor had pushed, I hadn't given either of them a clear answer on what I wanted to do with myself. Maybe because I didn't know. And they've granted me less than 6 weeks to decide the course of the rest of my life. Or maybe because what I truly wanted, they couldn't give me answers, retribution. Only Velman could give me that. The ribbon wrapped boxes that Jardis, her dad's servants passed to me, ended up containing half a dozen luxurious new dresses, such that a woman would wear. My dad said without meeting my eyes, staring at his folded hands. He sat in his armchair in the parlor while I sat on the vine, opening my presents with the key and several servants looking on. I was about to thank him. The gowns was a much less tortuous present than I'd been expecting, even if most of the colors were a touch bright for my taste. Or a wife, he added. Ooh. And the words froze in my mouth. Oh shit, you gonna marry up? A wife. What sort of wife could I be to anyone? I simply couldn't imagine it. I had no desire to run a household, to have children, or even participate in an act that led to children. Perhaps it was only letting me know that he didn't mind the possibility if I wished to find someone suitable. I let the remark slide without comment, hoping both he and I would forget that he mentioned it, but I couldn't forget. Nakia gave me a beautiful dagger that I could wear at my hip if I ever found myself outside again. It was a less discreet version of the pocket knife I still carry between my breasts. In the waking world, at least, since Bob had taken it in the sleeping realm, I gifted my mother the gift my mother had given me on my birthday 8 years ago. Oddly, it was more hopeful present than Jodorous, the guard, despite the potential danger it applied. Better a fight than marriage. That night, the black door opened into a parlor that was a dark mockery of the bright one. I sat in earlier with Jardis, the floating lamps making a red and indigo strip. Oh, that's cute.
They feel too foamy. They got that soft foam in there. I like that.
At least they got a heel that might help with your walking in the store and stuff and standing.
They don't look big. They look big to me.
Now that's because that hill. That's why. It must be somebody's birthday. Oh, what's that? Okay. Benham was facing away from me when I entered, standing perfectly still and silent. I drew up short at the ear sight of him, but even he turned. What has upset you? He asked. He always seemed to know when I was distraught, even when I tried to hide it. I found his youthful face and old eyes both oddly comforting and unsettling, and as beautiful as always. I sighed, half wanted to vent over what Jarvis had said, and half wanted to never speak of it. Now that I'm a woman grown. Jarvis mentioned his possibility of me becoming a wife. I didn't mention a trip to the market, which was still weighing heavily on my mind. It was too shameful how badly it had gone. Damn, I can't talk today. And I didn't want him to know how much more I needed his answers now. And you didn't appreciate the idea of marriage? No. He was suddenly in front of me in that sensuous, instantaneous way he had of moving sometimes. He leaned forward, brushed my cheek with a cool kiss. It was the first time he'd done such a thing, and for a second I forgot how to breathe. It wasn't a good or bad feeling, it was a jolt of taking a step and missing it. Something startling, a little exhausting, and potentially dangerous. That is a lovely dress, he said. I glanced down to remember what I was wearing. I'd arrived in the sleeping room in one of my new gowns, a lace midnight blue creation with a plunging neckline and sleeves like spider webs, the darkest of the lot. The corner of his mouth, of which I was oddly aware after his kiss, twitched in half smile. I prefer black, of course, but the color suits you. I never seen Bear appear in anything but his strange black robe with his copper belt and his gold silver cuff arms. It's not my favorite, I said in a dismissive tone. Secretly, I was pleased. He often complimented me, but more and more I've been sensing something hungry in his dark eyes. Mm. When he looked at me like that, I had to admit it wasn't altogether unpleasant like his kiss. But I was an idiot. I was playing with fire and I knew it. This wasn't anything beyond a strange fascination for me, a curiosity that even, that ever, that never ever ended in the same place as the other person was imagining. He caused my body to react in ways that no one has else had. But even those sensations didn't lead to a desire to end up naked together, let alone doing anything. And yet, was that what he was imagining? Did he even experience desire in the same way others did? I found the idea of him wanting me, even if I didn't want him, perversely intriguing. You doubtly, you're doubtly an idiot playing with fire twice over. He's not human. I hissed at myself. You don't even know if he's dangerous. No, you do know he's dangerous. What you don't know if he's deadly. The thought was almost too frightening to contemplate. His hunger for all I understood it, might be much too literal. He abruptly turned away. Come, I have a present for you. I couldn't help looking around as if some strange new gift or unearthly vesta was about to be revealed. Nothing like that, he said, back to watching my face closely. I reminded myself again to be more guarded. He could guess what I was thinking too easily here. With a gesture, Hey, somebody birthday? Who birthday? Oh, happy birthday! It was shocking. What did I say? With a gesture, a blue door appeared. It was shockingly familiar shadow of blue, nearly the color of Gerard's front door in this waking world. Except this, her father's door. Except this one wasn't gilt frame, but lined with white painted wood that was flaking. It looked like the entrance to the child's room, an old room, one that hadn't been used in ages. What is this? I asked, apprehensive, rolling in my stomach. You wanted secrets. This isn't everything you wanted by any means, only petty secrets, but it's something. Oh Lord, she married to the brother. I'm sorry, I gotta go like that. Vaughn was making no move for the door, so I stepped forward and touched its brass knob, which was another strange, tarnished reflection of gold plated one in a waking world. This isn't quite what I was expecting. I was picturing something rather more romantic. I wasn't sure why I said it. Of course, I wanted secrets more than anything, but he'd already admitted they were petty. And yet romance might not be what I wanted either. I didn't know what I wanted, only that I was assuredly didn't want what romance usually led to. Him, for his part, blinked at me in mild surprise. I opened the door before I could regret my words or confuse us both further. The room beyond was coated in the same flaking blue paint. The doors were scarf wood that needed both a dusting and a finishing. There was a white dresser and a brass bed without blankets, both child size. But as soon as I stepped inside, I understood what this was. This is... What you... Oh, you so pretty. Why are you hiding? Look how pretty y'all is. What you hiding for, mama? Oh, she had a pretty dress. I like that dress. Hey! Hey, come here. Hey, let me see it. Hey! Sister. I don't know your name. Come let her get in my thing. I want to show y'all dress. I like her dress. Come on, I want to see. Bring her here. Let me see. Let me put it in the camera. Let's see her dress. It is so pretty. I like that pink one too. That's pretty. Oh. Okay. They look cute little shoes too. All right. Y'all have a good time. Oh. What's that? Open the door before I could regret my words or confuse us both either. The room beyond was coated in the same flaking blue paint. The doors were scarf wood that needed both the dusting and refinishing. There was a white dresser and a brass bed without blankets, both childlike. But as soon as I stepped inside, I understood what this was. This is Gerardus Nehym. I knew without a doubt, just by the feeling. George didn't bother confirming it. How? Oh, so they not in the guard's head, I guess. I thought I had to be near someone to gain access to their sleeping soul. At this command, at his command, wait a minute. I thought I had to be near someone to gain access to that sleeping soul. What was this? Did he have some power I didn't know? Oh damn. To call forth other souls at this command, at his command. I wanted to teach you something, he said, without answering my unfinished questions. Open one of those drawers. He nodded toward the dresser, and I stepped carefully up to it, unavoiding making tracks in the dust. I didn't want to disturb anything. They're gonna leave that door open too, with the music. I said, my voice smaller than I expected. I didn't want to hurt him. Oh, okay, gentlemen. I appreciate it. You won't. His tone was softer, gentler than usual, and it made me want to trust him. He hadn't felt the doorway or even set a toe inside the room. He was a dark shadow against the black fortress behind him, framed by flaking white, his pale face like sheet music in a glooming parlor, shaded and inscrutable. Somehow the sight was heartbreaking. Both the room and I was in the darkness beyond. However, lonely Jar's soul struck me as it was nothing like his. I'd managed to forget how wrong that place was until I saw it side by side with something so particularly human, pathetically human. The darkness was lonely too, no doubt, but it was loneliness raised to an ungodly intensity, a cavernous emptiness, a bottomless craving. I didn't want to be here anymore, standing between these two places that together tucked such a cord of sadness and longing through my own hollow core. Definitely not how I thought I'd spend my 18th birthday, but he wouldn't let me leave until he was satisfied, I was sure. And maybe I didn't want to disappoint him. I opened the drawer and had to tug hard, and it gave with an unpleasant wooded screech. There's nothing inside, I said. Try again, he urged. I turned, shooting him a glaze. So curiosity could only carry me so far. Close your eyes and concentrate. It was a it was patient as I was impatient. He was patient as I was impatient. Focus on how you want this place to talk to you, to indulge its secrets. Souls can hide themselves, even when you walk through them. Okay, some new shit. I'll help you do it, but it's a skill you might find useful on your own someday. This is a gift, Kamara. This was what I had been needing to learn. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. I thought of my father. Yes, he was my father, wasn't he? And now I wished I could understand him better. Why do you hate me? Okay, 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 is that her father's body she's in? I thought his name was something else. Oh, she's in her father's body. Oh wow, father's soul. Why do you hate me? Was the thought that flashed unbidden to my mind. When I opened my eyes, I had to swallow a gasp. There was a woven blanket on a once naked bed, blue and yellow, with matching stained pillows. There was an old figure of a soldier on the desk, chipped and worn, its hand empty where it might have once held a sword. There was also a brass picture frame, tarnished like everything else, encircling a painting of my mother. The portrait was beautiful, and yet the painting was flaky. Her skin seemed to fall apart and decay. I flinched from it. Look in the drawer again, he said. The hidden places hold a deeper secrets. This is how you truly soul walk. It sounded more like soul searching, but I didn't say that. So many grounds, nouns, NEHYMS, that had looked so empty. What more could they have shown me? Had my mother known how to do this? I looked at her wide smile in the painting. Of course she had, and I simply hadn't been ready to learn such things. I knew she hadn't completed my training, that hadn't taught me everything. She told me as much, and now he was teaching me in her place, as with mostly everything to do with him. I felt a churning mixture of guidedness and trepidation. I looked in a drawer. There was a stained brown leather journal. And that, my dear, is the prize, he said. I held my breath as I touched the cover. As I touched the cover. Okay, let me find where I'm at here. Somehow the sight was heartbreaking. Both the room and I was in the darkness beyond. Yeah, accidentally turned the page. Somehow the sight was heartbreaking. Both the room and I was in the darkness beyond. However, lonely jar's soul struck me. Okay, I read that. Okay, and that, my dear, is a prize, he said. I held my breath as I touched the cover. Did this mean souls could simply be read like books if one had the knowledge and power to figure out how? They put in the archives in the think of it now. Akashic Records. The thought of my having such access to a person's inner world was dazzling. Read it. I followed his command, cracking the cover as if I had no control over my hands. I loved her so much. I thought if she perhaps had greater reason to stay, I swapped out the herbs she was taking. Put something in their place that tasted identical, but that had no effect. I was wrong. Not even a child made her stay. That's the type of woman she is. I slammed the journal shut. My hands trembled on the cover. My breathing came in sudden grasp. I almost couldn't believe the words, the meaning behind them, but no, I'd read enough to understand. Kamala, he voiced behind me, giving nothing away, unlike the book. Don't, I rasped. It was clear enough what had happened. My mother had wanted me. Oh, not even a child made her stay. My father, I would never call him my father again. He used my conception to try to tie her to him. I knew it was true, just as I'd known this was his soul. It simply fit. His own words, spoken the day I met him, floated up like an echo. I'd had nothing to do with you, no part in your upbringing, and that was how She wanted it. So blame her if you feel like blaming someone. I hated him, and I realized with burning clarity that I didn't blame my mother, not at all. Maybe she hadn't planned for me, but there were ways to rid oneself of a child. It would have been her right, especially after her body had been so used after her, against her. Instead, she must have left with me, found her way to Holland somehow, and raised me, for the most part, without a father. That was why he had hated her, and why he hated me now. But I was fiercely proud of her, the person she had been. She would take a child from someone who would use a child to get what he wanted. And even if she hadn't planned to have me, she loved me as if she had. That was the type of woman she had been. Yeah. And now I knew for sure what type of man he was. It made me wonder all the more what type of man this man, the Williams, call him V, was to show such a thing to me on this of all days. No, not a man. Maybe I'd forgotten what he was. Inhuman. Why? I asked quietly, my eyes still closed. What do you mean? He asked, sounding innocent. Why now? You must want me to hate him bitterly. You must hate him. Hate me. I simply wanted you to have the truth. Isn't that what you wanted? You hadn't given me the truth about anything yet, I spat, rounding on him until now. So it must be only for your purpose, your own gain. Is it because I said he wants to marry? You want me to despise him so much that I will do anything to thwart his wishes? You want me to feel unwanted, not just for him, but my own mother? Only wanted, only wanted by you? I felt it in my occasional flashes, heat, possessiveness. I couldn't believe you would do this to me, I continued, so callously, so cruel, so selfishly, and on my birthday. His eyes narrowed. What did you expect? Romance? His voice was mocking, sharp, a knife's edge, but then it gentled. Kamara, don't, I cried, throwing the journal back in the drawer and slammed it closed. Don't talk to me. Don't come near me. I expected him to be mad, but a slow smile spread across his face. I'm afraid you can't escape me. That is so. You can't leave your dark hole, and I don't think I'll be coming back. Or can he? He kept smiling unconcerned at my outburst. Ooh, I can see him sound intriguing. I can't wait for you to get bored in there and come back here. I've waited for you long enough. A little longer wouldn't hurt. A shiver crawling down my spine. I wasn't sure what he meant, and I didn't want to know. Don't bother waiting. I closed my eyes, pushing myself to wait. His voice sharpened. Tamara, wait. He spoke in anger and threat, and yet there was something else in his tone, too. But I was sick of listening to him. I said, wait. But then it was too late to realize he was warning me. Because when I opened my eyes in the waking world, I wasn't in my bed. Oh, wow. I wasn't even inside. Hey. I wasn't even inside. I was slipping on the rain drift tiles when the heavy darkness of the night sky. Wow. Instinctively scrambling for purchase before I even realized what was happening. But my wet grip wouldn't hold, and then I was falling off the roof and down to the courtyard 4 stories below. Oh wow. So he was moving her soul as he went into the rooms. Oh, but she was in her father's body. and she hadn't left. Maybe she had left out the room and tried to wake up. I don't know. It's strange, but why would she be hidden strength? Chapter 11. My hand caught the gutter at the last possible second. The clay fixture cracked and gave slightly under my weight. I was hanging for the moment, right alongside her father's master bedroom window on the fourth floor. Rain poured down around me. I had wondered how I was in his nephew. Now I knew. I'd been so close to him as I'd always needed to be, okay, right outside his window. Bill didn't have some hidden power to open up souls from himself, but he had a hidden power to make me sleepwalk. Mm. Mm. Okay. I must have crawled out the attic's dormer window. Some vague part of my mind registered that I was soaked to the skin. I must have been outside for a while. The air wasn't too chill, but the rain was. Wet like this, asleep on a cool clay roof while drenched. My fingers had gone numb, and now they were slipping. Please, I whispered to no one in particular. I wouldn't have minded if her dad had thrown open his window and reached for me. It was amazing how quickly hate shed away in the face of death. That's what I try to tell people. But the window didn't open. I slipped some more. Then I felt a shove. It was like someone bumping into you in a hall. Except this was in my head. I wanted to push back, but something told me that this effort would distract me. I would fall and I would die. And then I heard the voice, Kamira, reach up with your other hand and reinforce your hold now. It was a very familiar voice. Apparently, Vaughn could not only make me sleepwalk, but speak directly into my mind when he felt like it. Stop complaining and do it. I tried to inch my other hand up, but my grip slipped more, and I let loose a scream that was lost in a drumming rain. I couldn't. I'm going to fall. I'm going to. My arm suddenly tingled, flashing with warmth. It was almost the same living stone sensation I had when touching the black door, except it was in my flesh. My hand flew up by its own accord. So this was how he done it, how he made me move. But he wasn't fast enough, or he was too fast. The gutter snapped out of my grip and I was dropping, too startled to even scream. The white limestone passed in a blur, and stopped. My breath hitched out of me. My extended hand, the one that felt like stone, gripped the bottom edge of a third floor balcony. The force of my arrest fall should have yanked my arm out of the socket, or at the very least, my fingers should have been strong enough to catch my weight, but my grip held. His grip held. I squinted up my arm through the rain and then wished I hadn't. Deep black marks illumined my wet skin from my bunched shoulder to the tips of my fingers, curling and spiraling as if the patterns were cast by the lanterns in the black fortress. It almost scared me more than the thought of dying. Oh gods, oh gods. Your guards aren't helping you, Kamara. I am. Now grab the edge with your other hand and actually keep hold this time. Without giving me any time to react, he continued. In case you were wondering, it's much harder to manipulate you when you're awake. Do please hurry. I might get tired. I lifted my other hand, my normal hand. It felt like a numb weight at the end of my arm in comparison to the warm strength in its twine. But it didn't have to be inhumanly strong. It just had to brace my weight while the other held. me up on its own. It shouldn't have been possible. None of this should have been possible. But one armed, that was exactly what happened. I pulled myself up the balcony rails. Rather, he pulled me up. Once bent over the railing, my feet perched precautiously on the slippery outer edge. I gave up a pretense of coordination and simply tumbled headfirst into the balcony. My strong arm caught me, preventing me from breaking any wrist or my face. For a few moments, I just laid there on the tile, breathing as the rain pattered on my skull. I watched the black marks fade from my skin, the warmth seep, the warmth seep out of my flesh as well, leaving me cold and utterly drained. You still in my head? I asked. I sounded drunk. Get inside, Camara. You're in shock. This is your balcony, by the way. So it was. I hadn't even noticed. You're welcome, but I expected your thanks in person. I ignored him, lurching to my feet and humbled at the door handle. Okay. Humbling at the door handle. Luckily, I left it unlocked. I toppled inside, managing on a few more stumbling steps before I collapsed on my bed and dragged the blankets over me. I fell asleep instantly. Maybe he helped with that too. I soon turned up the clearing. I might have managed through dreams first, scraping together some real rest, but eventually the circus of sleep took me in a clearing direction, or his did. The black door was there and open. He was standing at the threshold, his muscular arms folded. You bastard. I didn't know what else to say. There were too many places to start. I never intended for you to discover this. He sounded like it was merely unfortunate, not that he was at fault. We could start there then. You never intended. All this time you've been able to manipulate me like that. Not before you open the door, of course. And it's much easier when you're asleep, especially when you're in here with me. He gestured over his shoulder. He was being remarkably forthright for once. I figured I'd return the favor. Then I really won't be coming in again. He didn't even bother responding. Camara, do you realize? His jaw hardened. You could have died. Forcing my hand like that. A barking laugh tore out of me. You mean you literally forcing my hand? And in the process, I accidentally made you admit that you have a terrifying amount of control over me. Oh, I'm sorry. I saved you. You think Nikia was something much less impressive. So he had known about the market and just let me pretend I could keep it from him. And now he was trying to belittle Nikia on top of that. If you want things, you can choke on it. You could have just let me die instead. But I didn't want that. I opened my mouth to argue, to spit more curses at him, but nothing came out as his words sank in. He didn't want me to die. It wasn't the highest form of regard for a human life, but it was hard not to feel grateful after he just saved mine, even though it had been a danger because of him. I really, really hadn't wanted to die. Tears welled in my eyes at the memory raw in the mind. I should have been angrier. I would have heard more accusations and insults, more questions at the very least. Everybody talking, music going. About this powerful, he revealed. But right that second, I was bone tired and shaken. I just wanted to hold on to the thought that he hadn't wanted me to die, that he'd saved me. that someone still valued my life. I was hugging myself before I even realized it, simply for something to hold. He must have seen the look in my eyes. The door's frame disappeared and reappeared right in front of me. It should have been frightening. It would have been if I hadn't wanted him close. But at that moment I did. I sprung onto my tiptoes and threw my arms around his neck, burying my face in his shoulders. He obviously wasn't accustomed to me taking the initiative because his entire body registered the surprise. He's shifting like stone. He stiffened like stone. Then his arms relaxed and his hands came to my cheeks. He tipped my head back, but only by a few inches so he could peer into my eyes, curiously written all over his face. The upper half of my body was still leaning around the doorway. I leaned closer. I didn't know what I was doing. Is it romance you truly want? He asked, his eyes both hungry and searching. I stumbled. I don't know. Before I knew what I was doing, he bent his head. His lips touched mine. Now it was my turn to freeze. His mouth didn't calm mine. He moved tentatively, testing out my lip and then the bottom, biting each one with a feather-like nibble. Briefly, his tongue tasted mine. I didn't reciprocate. Logical thought had shattered to a halt. Did I want this? I didn't think so. Did I want him to stop? Not necessarily. He pulled back, a slight smile on his face, his lips flashed and shiny. So much for romance. This really doesn't do it for you, does it? I would have thought he sounded the slightest bit insecure, if not for the fact that he stabbed right to the heart of my insecurities. I jerked away, stunned. I thought you knew everything about me, I said, trying for haughtiness and failing. I do, for the most part, but much matters of both flesh and soul run deep. As if to illustrate, he braced one hand on my lower back and flattered the other on my belly, spreading his fingers, digging slightly into my dress. It was both intimate and alarming because I could feel his intense strength even as he held imperfectly in the cheek. He likely could have ripped my guts out if he wanted to. Case in point, he said. Okay. He squatting as if seeing something I couldn't. I'm not sure if you like this. It's hard to tell. I sense both a thrill and a pulling back. When I try to dig deeper, find some hidden desire, there's nothing there. Nothing there. Well, her mama did tell her she didn't have a soul. That was what lurked beneath the surface. When he tried to reach for my depths, nothing. He thought I was broken, just like everyone else would if they knew my secret. If romance was only a prelude to everything that was supposed to come after, then to indulge it would be feasting on appetizers when all anyone wanted was dinner. I would be fooling myself and other people that I was something more. Perhaps romance isn't for me. I tried to make my tone light, but instead it came out bright and brittle. Shame washed over me in a sudden flood. I tried to pull away from him, but his hand swift around my waist and held me still. Tamara, stop. I don't mind at how you feel. It's interesting, honestly. He sounded almost surprised, and that utterly surprised me until doubt came raging in my shame. Yes, interesting, like I'm some freak of nature. I'm all I'm all wrong. I don't feel things like normal people. You're more like me. His admission took my breath away. In the following silence, he gave me time to prod the idea. His mysterious being would would so fascinating felt the same as I did, at least insofar as it came to sex. I wasn't alone. And when he spouted, how you feel isn't unheard of among humans. It's entirely normal. If a superior way to be, in my opinion, since I'm a superior being. How I feel is both different and similar. I squatted at him. What do you mean? I can't imagine ever degrading myself to touch a brass mortal activity as that. But whereas you don't feel the hunger for such things, I feel hunger of a different sort. I didn't want to know about his hunger in case what I discovered was too terrifying. And maybe because I did have hunger of my own for what I thought of as appetizer for romance. And I didn't want him to laugh at me because if he thought sex was too base and mortal, how would he feel about something as silly as kissing? But then he had kissed me. He had given me roses. Maybe he was interested in romance in his own way, just as I was, and yet he liked something else that was bothering me, and it certainly wasn't a desire for sex. There was something missing in his eyes, nothing that empty, ageless darkness that had told me he wasn't human, something missing in him that I didn't want to think about too much. If not broken, then at the very least I was something different, and maybe it was good to be different from him. God forbid you have to stoop to a mortal level like mine, I said finally, attempting to cover my surprise, my wonder, with anger. I tried to pull away again. I guess we're not alike after all. He held on to me, giving me a little shake that was almost affectionate. Kamara, Kamara, I don't wish to antagonize you. I really want to know you, to understand you, so I can give you what you want. What did I want? I flashed my ears with embarrassment this time and couldn't look him in the face for fear he would read my thoughts. His liquid dark eyes were on me, waiting, calculating, and hungry at once. Predatorial. What are you thinking? Nothing, which was fragment lie. A thought could occurred to me, one I couldn't halt. Was I somehow what he actually wanted? And could I give something to him in a way that might satisfy his hunger, whatever it was? My breathing increased in spite of myself, and a smile flicked across his face, as if he didn't know what I was thinking. I mentally berated myself. How did I know he wasn't lying about how he felt? And why in all three hills did I want to give him that what he wanted? What do you want, Camara? He whispered, leaning closer to me, his breath a warm caress against my cheek. It was hard to focus, but I managed. I had to know if he was only toying with me, and maybe that meant toying with him. I need to ask for something small, almost conspicuous, something. But something I knew for sure he wouldn't want to give, just to see what he would do. But first, to throw him off the scent. I want you to tell me who killed my mother. Not yet, of course. It was the bait that kept me coming back to him. Fine, I took a deep breath. Then I settled for apology. His eyes narrowed. An apology? He repeated as if unfamiliar with the word. Yes, that's what I want. Apology for your cruelty in my father's soul and for not telling me about what you could do with me. I wouldn't say I'm sorry for the latter. I won't say I'm sorry for the latter, he said, cupping my face in his palms, because you'll know I don't mean it. I will say this, take more care with yourself. I would hate to lose you. Okay. It took me a second to realize he hadn't apologized for the first thing either. Crafty bastard. Then didn't drive me off by being cruel. I murmured into his hands, trying to remind him of what I'd asked. His fingers were gravitating to my mouth. I didn't mind him touching me. Not at all. His hands felt like they were exploring, studying me, like my own fingers had traced over maps of Opia to learn its geography. But I would have liked them even more if they came with an apology. My intention wasn't cruelty, he said gently, almost contrarily. Almost. I didn't want your father to be able to hurt you anymore. It was a gift. I snorted a very unladylike noise, but I didn't care. Some gift. You hurt me in the process, so why would you care if he does? Just apologize, I thought, so I can enjoy your hands. Okay. Because no one should be able to hurt you. He brushed my cheek with his inner finger, tracing the line of my jaw. His thumb caught my lower lip. My heart began to beat faster. No one but me. My blood abrupt turned to ice, and my scalp puckered in warning. You had me until that last bit. You would do well to remember, now that you are no longer a child, he said softly, as if still speaking tender words. I'm the only one who can hurt you, and so I'm the only one you can fear. I hadn't known it was possible to fail a test so badly, but he had. Apology not given, not accepted, but lessons learned. I took a step back into the clearing, finally withdrawing from his touch. I'm definitely afraid. The doorway covered closer, bringing him with me, and pickles raced over my arms and legs. The trick wasn't charming anymore. He let me go, only to chase me, a predator toying with his prey. But you don't have to fear me, so long as you listen to me, he said as he drew nearer. Come here. I backed away. No. I said, come here. And I said, no, I'm not a dog. I breathed the words in nearly a gasp, but at least I said them. And I retreated farther into my bare, sad little clearing. At least he couldn't leap right through the doorway. No, you are mine. Damn, didn't I just do that on my reading last night? It's great, craziest dream, yeah. I might talk about it in my other books. Two dogs. Some little girl had some dogs. And two dogs, they wasn't attacking me. They had their pickles out. And it was crazy. And little girls were trying to get them off. Mine. That was what Ramsey had said too. Apparently, I belong to all sorts of people. Okay. Men, or at least strange inhuman creatures that think I look like men, that think of look like men without even knowing it. The memory of the pattern that had burst all over my skin, my marks, his strength in my voice, his voice in my head didn't help my temper. Anger flared again, making my voice ring clear. I'm not. I am not. He cocked his head at me. His next words almost seemed like a change in topic, but I knew better. What do you think happened when you opened this door? Oh, holy Heshima, what have I done? The question echoed in my mind, not for the first time and probably not the last. You couldn't get out. Is that so? Are you forgetting this evening how I affected you? But you can't get beyond me. At least I hoped with every escape of my being that he couldn't. You opened the world to me, but the way is through you. You are my door, Kamala. It's only that I hadn't fully opened it yet. Who are you? I wanted to ask, but I knew he wouldn't tell me, and I knew where he was going with this. That didn't make me yours. That doesn't make me yours. But you gave yourself to me, Kamara. That means you are mine. My words only grew louder. So why don't so why not just kill me then? Kick me down like a door and be free in the world. Because as I've already told you, that wouldn't please me. What does please you? I nearly shouted. What do you want from me? He only smiled at me. I took yet another step back. His smile slipped, and surprisingly, he gave me a real answer, or real enough. For the immediate present, I want you to stop running from me, accept your fate, and why, maybe even enjoy yourself in my company. I couldn't help a strangling laugh. You pretty much ruined any chance of that with the whole fear me. I owe you part of your speech. You forgot to add happy birthday. But I also protected you and gave you gifts of knowledge and strength. I take care of mine. There you go again, assuming you have what you don't. You could really work on your courtship skills. My voice should have blistered him with its sarcasm. Have you been getting tips from my father? I almost hoped he would scoff at the idea of courting me, but when he didn't, my stomach clenched in a way that was both horribly good and bad. If this was courtship, I was in trouble. I would rather learn from you, he said, entirely un- unperturbed. So you tell me, what can I do to make you feel better? Take it back. Say it isn't true, that I'm not yours. I paused. And then God's damn apology. God is supposed to be goddamn. So God's damn apologize. He only stared at me again. Yet this time, he pursed his lips. But then I would be lying, he said eventually, as if you don't do that already. I often withheld the truth from you, but I rarely speak falsehoods. You're lying now. My voice rose to nearly a screech. I took a deep breath and said more steadily through gritting teeth, I am mine and mine alone. The slight smile returned, but he didn't touch his eyes. But it didn't touch his eyes. As you wish, you are yours, and I am sorry. He was lying. It was plain at his smirk, and he knew I would be able to tell. I hate you, I patted. I know, but I also know that's not all you feel for me. Besides, where's the fun in absolutes? I wanted to scream. Instead, I closed my eyes to wake up. He didn't try to stop me, not because he couldn't, he probably could, but because he was once again letting me go, and he knew I knew it, which only made me more furious. I hesitated, reopening my eyes in the clearing, and slammed the black door in his face. Oddly, it stayed shut for the second I lingered to see if it would, but maybe that was also only because he allowed it. I kicked the door before I felt, only brushing my toe, and I knew there was a lesson in there somewhere. But none of those lessons mattered anymore because I'd ignored the most important one of all. The first thing my mother had tried to teach me about the black door, not to open it. Hmm. There was another lesson that mattered almost as much: never fall in love. I wasn't too worried about that. I figured I could manage a pretty strong hatred for him if tonight had been an indication. Still, his sly, insulting voice echoed in my mind even after I woke up stiff and sore and mildly damp. Not his actual voice, just the memory of it. That's not all you feel for me. I spent the rest of the night tossing and turning, wondering if there was possibility that he might be right, which was probably the exact effect he'd intended. You bastard. So now we on chapter 12, y'all, when I come back. Let me go ahead and put the, well, yes I can. I can put 1 through 11, 10 through 11. All right, y'all, hope y'all enjoyed it. Something to do different. I really want to see. They go more into detail about that. All right, like, subscribe, share, and comment. Talk to y'all later. Bye.